Hi, I'm Dr. Micah Hamilton, co-founder and CEO of Pure on Zoe Corporation, and we're continuing our epigenetic performance series shorts. And today I'm super excited. I have my friend Kyle Kingsbury on. Hi, Kyle.
How you doing, Micah?
I'm awesome. Thank you. Thank you for spending this sunny day with me. Oh God, it's gorgeous here in Austin. So Kyle, just for people who may not know you, I feel like a lot of people know you. But Kyle was a former professional MMA fighter. He's now retired. And he also served as director of human optimization at Onnit. He's currently now moving into a really beautiful experience of creating a heart and mind integration. And I'm going to let you talk about your experience. But, the title today is Transforming Trauma into Love. And we're doing this through a human performance lens. We're not talking about trauma through the lens of broken and what's wrong with us, but simply that, our experiences are catalysts for some really interesting things to set up in the human system. And Kyle has really moved from an interesting place of lots of catalysts that may be considered by some as challenging into a state of love. And I call you a pillar of love. I'd love to call you a teddy bear of love because you're just so amazing. So Kyle, welcome. Thank you. And tell us more about this mind-heart integration being that you're in at the moment.
Right. Well, I think this isn't anything groundbreaking for a lot of people who have studied Eastern mysticism and some of the spiritual traditions. I've always been averse to religion from a young age and kind of found myself looping back around to find a lot of gems there. Truthfully, though, it's very practical. It's in the sense of what's coming to me actually right now is the story from a curandero, an ayahuasca maestro back in the day, or a shaman as we call him in the West, who once told me our problem in the West is that we stay up here in our heads when the storm comes. And if you look into nature, monkeys don't climb to the treetops when the storm comes. They climb down to the roots where they're safest. So they drop down from here into their heart space. And that's where we find peace and equanimity. And I think mastering that skill is easier said than done. And it's something that I'm continuing to work on is calling in peace. And all peace is accessible. It's not outside of me, it's within me. It's a matter of just accessing that. And you access that through stillness. So the opposite of doing is being. And being literally means just being and nothing else. So how do I create environments and atmospheres that allow me to be in stillness? Obviously, meditation is a very good one. Sitting in stillness, in silence, in darkness. All those are good, but for a lot of people, including myself, that can be pretty tricky to do when we're caught up in our heads and there's a lot of stuff going on like there is right now. Mm-hmm. So there's preparation, and we prepare the body like we would prepare a meal. There's steps that you can take to absolutely get that energy moving and out of your body and start to move out of your brain and into your heart. I think it's critical. That's what yoga, the physical practice of yoga, was invented for. How do I open up my body? How do I stretch? How do I draw my focus to my breath? So that way, when I'm done with yoga, I can actually sit still and turn my mind off for a moment. Yeah. And what's now is science is showing that the more we practice this, our brain is like a muscle, and it gets stronger and it gets better and better at accessing these points of being where we have stillness and peace and equanimity. And I think the more we give into that, the easier it gets. So it may be something that you can only do for 5 minutes that turns into 30. And then all of a sudden I'm going, an hour long, and the little alarm goes off and I'm like, damn it, why did I set an alarm? I was so deep. No reason to come out of that right now.
I love what you just did. Of course, being the director of human optimization, you would do this, right? You just mentioned 5 things that are really some of the top 5 epigenetic modulators, right? We know that in meditation, just even 6 weeks of meditation, we beneficially up or down regulate 2,500 genes. With human movement, exercise that we call chronic, of 6-month period, we modulate 7,500 genes in a beneficial way. That's a third of our genome, right? You talked about nutrition, you talked about neuroplasticity. I am so excited that we're going to be able to geek out on performance, looking through a complex systems lens, and that we're going to be able to benefit from the wisdom of the practical strategies that you've laid in over really a lifetime of human performance. So that's what we'll take a deep dive into on Friday, and we're going to do this live on Friday at 11:30 Central. And so we'll send out sort of an announcement about that. So make sure if you want to be in live, because Kyle's going to answer questions, then you can subscribe to the Appear on Zoe YouTube channel, and it'll push you a notification that we're going live. And so please do that, because it's so wonderful to take advantage of Kyle's tons of experience across so many lanes. So Kyle, I'm going to ask you if you would share with us the thing that we discussed earlier about meditation and some of the things that you've been seeing around this COVID kind of concentration across the consciousness.
Right. And I think this kind of flows into it. So I had a longer form meditation with the help of an entheogen. We'll just leave that up to people's guesswork of what that was. But I dipped in with a moderate dose, what Jim Fadiman would call a concert dose, nothing crazy. But I just felt this kind of heaviness, and I really could feel the collective fear going on, and I could feel my own fear going on of hey, everybody has some lens at which they see this through, whether they think the disease is going to kill them, or they think that the virus is fine, but where's the economy going? And that's kind of been where my head's at. And I think, when do we get to go back to work? All of those things. When do our children go back to school? Mm-hmm. And there's a lot going on there. And at the same time, we're now forced into each other's proximity. There's less space. There's less space for ourselves. And I think that can be a huge thing if we're not paying attention to that. But I just felt pressure on all sides, and it was actually hard for me to breathe. And that's something that I do pay attention to. Anytime I feel like I'm short of breath, it just sparks a light bulb, like, oh, hey, something's off right now.
Yeah.
And I was able to move through that. I was able to do some movement practices. We have a Juve light. There's a lot of on-off switches that I was hitting on an epigenetic level to upregulate my system and allow me to feel good. But every time I'd sit still, it would come back. Mm-hmm. And that's when I started to get to realize, like, this is what everyone's feeling right now. And so I went out in nature in our tiny backyard, where we've planted a little garden and some trees. And I just started to sit out there and pay attention to my breath and play. And it wasn't until the evening, really, because the automatic response for me still is trying to figure it out.
Right.
And I realized, as those gears got turning, that feeds itself. Fear begets more fear. And as I started to feed into that, then more gears started turning. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I caught that late in the evening, as the evening was winding down and the substance was winding down, where I was like, oh shit, I tried to figure my way out of this. Absolutely impossible. All we can do at this point is pay attention to how we feed ourselves, how we feed our souls, how we connect to one another, how we communicate with one another in love and in light, and pay attention. All we can do is watch. There's not a lot we can do. So with that, that allows me to kind of give a little distance to what happens 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 10 years from now. Who knows? I don't need to figure that out. All I need to do is manage myself. And if I manage myself, I can manage myself much better from the quiet heart center than I can from trying to think of every possible outcome that's going on. And I had a beautiful meditation laying Bear down at night. We put him down at about 8 o'clock each evening, and I just lay with him until he falls asleep. And I usually drop into a pretty significant meditation at that point. And I could feel the whole weight lift. It was like my body just relaxed into his, and I could take deep breaths and really feel peace. And it was a beautiful reminder, a very hard and challenging birthday, but a beautiful reminder for me to really just to sit in that space, to spend more time there, and to spend less time trying to sort through checking off every box, making sure I have enough water and all this other stuff.
Right. What's interesting is what you were able to do is not accessible to all, and I really want to dive into this on Friday as well, because we do, what they say, we're get out of the stands and into the game. We're constantly in our heads. We think, and we've forgotten how to be an aligned heart rate. It's really gut, heart, brain, mind, being, where we're one complex system that it doesn't have parts and pieces and isn't buffeted about by simply being in one part at a time, right? And so you were able to move out of your mind into the mind heart so that you had access to that. And so I'm really excited about talking about strategies like that, because so many people are so used to running the rat wheel and the rumination that happens over and over. And now as they move into stillness, they're basically forced into a situation where they're either shattering apart because they can't stand it, or they're finding strategies to assist them to be a bit different and spend a little less time up there. Because right now, oh my goodness, to be able to go out and play and have fun, because you can go outside in the sun, and to really move your body in nature and to make love and to connect, and all the beautiful things that we have available to us that we didn't have the time to do before. I want to talk about all those strategies, all of the things that you use to return that balance over and over again, because at some point that becomes more of an automatic nature of being. And so I think it's going to be just super that you're going to share all of that with us. And I also would like to talk about, your transformation really from trauma into this love that you're sitting in, and your sort of, not necessarily goal, but your desire to fully inhabit more of your capacity. What do humans look like when we don't have limitations? And what are the strategies that we use to really know more of our limitless nature, bring more of the DNA online, the brain's capacity to move into altered enhanced states, either through technology or through inputs of plant medicines, or any type of altering substance, right? We're gonna do so many cool things on Friday. I think we're gonna definitely have to have more than an hour, but we'll start there. What would be your number one tip right now for anybody who finds themselves like you did the other day, spinning in your head and building a kingdom of fear, as opposed to staying in the moment and being connected to yourself and your family, or whomever is in your space at this time?
Yeah, more about space for yourself. So one of the best recommendations that I got from the relationships books, Conscious Loving, by Kathleen Hendricks and Gay Hendricks.
Yes, I love that.
In most relationships where there is some level of codependency, we want to move past that. And what we find in good relationships that do not rely upon codependency is that all good relationships have closeness and separateness,
yes,
closeness and spaciousness. And everyone needs that. And it may not be something that you've used that terminology to think about, but I guarantee we're all starting to feel that at some point right now. Like, damn, I'm around my wife and kids all day long. I have no work. I have no getaway. I have no escape. I have no me time.
Yeah.
And the truth is, we all need me time. Our children need me time.
Yes.
Each parent individually needs me time. Everybody needs me time. So if it just means going for a walk in the neighborhood and leaving your family at home for a minute, whatever the case is, to clear your head, and you can use the first portion of that to reflect, or you can use that to simply follow your breath and follow your feet. And walking meditation is absolutely beautiful because it gives you a second focal point to concentrate on. I walk with my shoes off, whether it's 100 degrees or 20 degrees, and I'll feel my feet hit the ground, and I'll feel the temperature on the ground, and I'll feel the rocks under my feet, and I feel every single step that I take, and that draws that focal point out of here onto something else. And it's a very easy way for me to hack getting out of my head. But in that space, I feel like I can take a deep breath. I can process. That's where the processing happens. It doesn't happen up here, right? The conscious mind can only do so much. The subconscious or unconscious can process far more rapidly if we know how to access that intelligently. And I think creating that space through meditation, or even just saying, hey, I need a 5-minute walk, I'll be right back, can be very beneficial. Other ways we can do it are unplugging, like I don't know how many damn text messages just went out that said somebody has a friend in the White House, get 6 months worth of food, all hell's going to break loose. And it's like, this is the exact same wording in every fucking text message. Like, are you recognizing this? How many people have friends in the White House right now? Do they have 10 people working there? This is ridiculous. So, where you can use reason to say, okay, there is something going on.
Yeah.
And it is real. But at the same time, there's a lot more going on around fear and the sharing of fear. And if I catch that illness of fear, that doesn't serve me. And I don't want to spread that to others. No. So how do I create space for myself to recognize what is a real threat? What isn't? How do I find equanimity? How can I calm myself down so I can use intelligence to actually sort through the sea of stuff? And if I do all that, then I find peace, because I realize, like, hey, it's an absolutely beautiful day outside. I've got my family at home. I've got a lot of cool things going on. I have time to do things that I didn't have before. There's a lot of things working in my favor right now. So how do I utilize that to get the most out of each day?
Yes, that is so perfect. Thank you. I kept hearing in my head, take a time out, right? How we tell our kids to take a time out. We need our own time out for sure.
Yeah, okay. We have a 4-year-old and he'll say, I think I need some space. And it's brilliant. Obviously, we told him now, like, do you need space? But now he recognizes it enough where he'll say, like, I think I just need some space.
Yes.
And he'll go upstairs and play with toys, and then he'll come back down.
I love that.
We all need it.
And I love you. Thank you. And so Friday, 11:30 Central, we're going to deep dive, and I'm so excited. Enjoy your afternoon.
I sure will. Thank you, Micah.
See ya.
Love you.
Love you.